Hey guys, Avish Chotu here, and in this demonstration I will be showing you how to set up a DHCP server using Windows Server 2008 and three other VMs that of Windows 7, Windows Vista and Windows XP. Now, DHCP basically stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. And what this does is that it automatically assigns IP addresses and other internet settings, or network settings, I should say, to those computers that are on the same network or domain, right? Now, the main purpose of this is that it takes off a load or workload of that network administrators from assigning static IP addresses and keeping records of those IPs that are used and not used and stuff like that. Because it manages a database of IP addresses that are available within a certain range so that when machines join or leave a network, it will reclaim an IP or it will distribute an IP. So it does all of that for itself, allowing the network administrator to see about other things. Right? Now, first, to set up DHCP, we'll have to go into the server manager on Windows Server. Right, so I'll start it up. Right, now under rules, right, I'll select add rule. Now in this list of services here, I will look for DHCP server and check the box next to it. Right, and I'll select next to install. This is just an introduction to DHCP server to give the administrator, I guess, a bit of understanding, right? So we don't need to really go through that. This is the IP address of the server that I am using. So, well, I only have one, so it'll be by default checked. So I will check next. This is my domain plus the DNS server, which is, well, validated as indicated by the tick here. So all that as well. Select next. Now, we do not use Wins server settings in this because this is more for older versions of Windows Server or older environments then, so we don't need this here. So I'll select next. Right, now I come to the point where I want to set a scope of IP addresses, right? Now, this basically sets its own pool then of available IP addresses to be distributed to whatever devices were to be added to the network, right? Now, I would want to sort of keep it a little bit of a distance from the range of or the IP address of my server. So my server is 192.168.0.1. Now I would probably use a scope of 10 in case I want to add more servers to this network. I will have from IP address 2, 3, 4 up to 9 available, right? And I will keep those as my server IP addresses. So for this scope name, I will just name it as average scope. Right, my starting IP address will be 192.168.0.10. Right, ending IP address, well, I would give it a large range so we don't have to keep increasing all the time since we are, let's assume we're working in a large environment and there are always some devices, a lot of devices that are connecting and leaving and stuff like that. Right, so subnet mask for this will be 255.255.0 and default gateway, although it is optional, I will still put it in as 192.168.0.1, which is the configuration on the Windows Server. Right, I will have this check for the scope to be activated. Now, here we have a lease type, right? We have for both wired and wireless. Now, leasing is basically a rental of an IP address. Once a device joins a network, they are given an IP address for a certain period of time before that IP address is reclaimed by the server and distributed elsewhere. Right? Now, in this case, we have a lease duration for wired networks of 6 days. Right? That means that from now, whenever the IP address is assigned to that computer or device, 6 days from then, that IP address will be taken back by the server. Right? Now, the server could either assign it a different IP address or it could give it back the same IP address if it is that the previous one wasn't distributed otherwise, right? So this is just I would say a cleanup process for things then, right? To make sure that IPs are properly distributed as efficiently as it should, right? So I will click OK. Right, so nice, my scope is there. Alright, so I click next. Now we are more in a world where we use IP version 4. So in this case, well, we don't even need IP version 6 as yet, so I'll disable that. We're not using it. Right, I'll need an account with privileged credentials. So in this case, I'll have the account as stated there. Right, so we don't need to change anything. Nice. So this is a summary of everything here that has been configured. So I'll click install, and due to the time consuming process of this, I will pause the video and resume once it is finished, right? Okay, so I am back and the DHCP was successfully installed, right? Now to show you this, I will go into start, administrative tools, and here we see the object or the option for DHCP. So I'll click on that. Let me just expand the menu here, the window. Right, so once I drop this down, you'll see IP version 4, IP version 6, expand all of that, and here you see the details of your scope, or in this case what is active on your DHCP server. Right, now this little green arrow here, well, to the top here, that shows the status of this scope, which is in this case will be active. Right, so let's just see. Here we have the range, right? Address pool, that is the range, right? So that's 192.168.0.5 up until 192.168.0.254, right? This is a range for distribution, right? So here we have IP address leases. Now I will show you later on when connected in network, right, and they get the IP and stuff, that each machine that is assigned an IP address will be listed here. You will see the IP address, the name of the machine, and when the IP address lease time will be up, right? So this is just a little intro. So in the meantime, let me go straight to the other virtual machines and I will show you how this works. Okay, so to start things off, we'll go with the Windows 7 VM, right? Now I will go on my network sharing center, change adapter settings, and I will go on properties, right? Internet Protocol version 4. Double click that. Now here you can see the static settings that I was using initially. Now once I were to click these to be automatically assigned, select OK. It may take a little while, but the network will now have to search for an IP address. Right. So I think it may have already searched without that was fast. So now just to probably verify that, I will go on my command prompt as an administrator, right, and I will do a ipconfig command just to show the address, and there we go. It really did assign fast. Wow. Okay, so here you see the IP address, well, version 4 address that was assigned to Windows 7 would have been 192.168.0.5. Now this .5 is the starting IP address of the range that was indicated in the scope that was created earlier, right? So that shows that everything has been set up correctly for this case, right? Nice. Next, I will go on Windows Vista and Windows XP, and I'll show you how this also works, right? Okay, well, I have up both VMs, Vista and XP, right? So now I will just do Vista first, network connections and sharing, right? And manage network connections, and here I will go on the properties, Internet Protocol version 4. Again, you see my static settings as I have it here. I will select the box to have them being obtained dynamically. I'll click OK. Let's hope this is just as fast as 7 and we don't wait. Right. I guess nothing works well in Vista, right? Right, so it's just taken a little while there. Now while that is being, well, distributed, the IP that is, oh, actually it's finished. Nice. So let me just go on the command prompt again, run it as administrator, and I will do the same ipconfig command, and here you see this one, Vista, has been distributed the 192.168.0.6 IP, right? So Windows 7 was 5, Windows Vista is 6. So great, nice. So next I'll do Windows XP. So in this case, open network connections, right click, net properties. Right, so Internet Protocol, TCP IP. Again, as you can see, indicated my static settings. I will set all of these to be dynamic. So I'll select OK. Alright, so let me just wait for this to, for the network address to be acquired. Shouldn't take too long, hopefully. Alright. Now while that is being, well, resolved, wow, and again, it has been resolved quickly. So I will just go on my command prompt and do an ipconfig command just to show. Nice, and Windows XP has been given 192.168.0.7. So Windows 7 is 5, Windows Vista is 6, and Windows XP is 7. So that is how DHCP pretty much works, right? As the devices connect to the network in the order like a first come first serve basis, the IP addresses are assigned in a numerical order, right? So now I will go back to Windows Server where I will now show you how the IP addresses and the computers that are assigned IP addresses are listed. Alright, so let me just bring back up my DHCP window. Nice. Alright, so hope you guys can see that. Center it. Right, so let me just expand everything. Good. IP address leases. Here we see the list then of how IP addresses have been assigned, right? So this is the IP address for the computer, followed by the name or the network name to which these IP addresses are assigned to, right? Here we have the least expiration, right? Now at the end of, well, when this time has reached, right? In this case, it will be 6 days from now at this time, right? That is when the IP address that is assigned to this machine or this particular computer will be returned to the server, and then the server can either rent out the same IP address for another period of time, which would be 6 days, or it'll rent out a different IP address. Either way, it'll make sure that that computer has an IP address assigned to it for a certain time, right? So good. So that DHCP server has been set up properly. Alright, nice. Alright, so having showed all connections for all the 4 VMs, right, that basically concludes this little demonstration on Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, or the DHCP service on Windows Server 2008. Right, as I said earlier, it automatically assigns IP addresses and saves the administrator a lot of work from having to manually assign and keep a track of whatever IP addresses are distributed and available. Right, so this DHCP server makes the networking environment a little bit more blissful. Right, so I thank you guys for watching. I hope it helped a little bit at least, right? And please watch my other videos, right?